I remember the first time I had to call a hospital to confirm a death as a reporter. The woman who had died was Almeda Creighton, a former city council member and community leader. I'd spent a week with her the summer before, reporting on the renovations her house was receiving thanks to church volunteers. I remember when I called Boone County Hospital just a few months after meeting her, my voice was cracking. I stammered to get out what I was trying to say to the media relations guy. I felt like I was calling to ask about his mother. I, I know this is difficult, but I have seen reports that Almeda Creighton has passed away. I was pacing the hallway right outside the newsroom. Yes, she's dead, the man replied matter of factly. I thanked him and hung up. I felt like a fool. I thought about how he deals with death every day. The only person this was difficult for was me. I can't help but get caught up in people's lives. Everyone has a story and I want to hear it. It's why I can't hang up on telemarketers. They're people and I'm so curious about them. I've never in my life regretted spending time to meet someone new or listen to someone. I think the reason why people's stories are so important in my life is because some important people in my life exist only as stories. I was named after my grandfather, and he died when I was 3. I have no memories of him firsthand, only pictures and stories from my father. I think about how my whole idea of a person is crafted from the pieces shared with me by someone else. My dad tells me of his sense of humor, his work ethic, the time they spent together walking the soybean fields and talking. I'm told the funny stories, the sad stories, the seemingly mundane stories of everyday life, they all fascinate me. I like hearing about how he always managed to skip church on Christmas by staying home to guard the presents. I'm told he pushed back his first date with my grandmother because he got so wrapped up reading the novel Ivanhoe, he had to stay in and finish reading it. I guess he had a soft spot for stories too. I'm told we're a lot alike. I'm told he felt guilty his whole life because his brother Robert died in the Korean War instead of him. After his brother died, my grandfather tried to break up with my grandmother. My grandmother wouldn't let him. He felt it wasn't fair his story continued after his brother's ended, but my grandmother convinced him to stick around. They named their first and only son, my father, after Robert. It comforts me to think we don't live only for ourselves, our stories and names continue through our family. I think about him every time I introduce myself as George to a new source. You see, in most parts of my life, I go by my middle name, Chris. It's what my parents and friends call me. But my byline has always been George. When people ask why, I kind of lie. I say there's a porn star named Chris Varney, so I go by my first name to avoid Google confusion. That's only partly true for complicated reasons. The real reason is because it means a lot to me to see the name George Varney come up again. I want the name to be alive again, to have work attributed to it. So when I meet a bow fisherman or a band or a former city councilwoman to learn and spread their story, I'm keeping my grandfather's story alive too.